And we're live. Good evening, Bounce Back Network. Welcome to the test broadcast of Privacy Fridays and FightBack Cybersecurity. This is a collaboration between the Bounce Back Philippines, NADPOP, and PH Shirt. So I'm Sam Hakova. I'm both from NADPOP and Bounce Back Philippines. This evening, we're going to discuss to you, what transpired during the 2 days of Privacy Awareness Week. The conference started yesterday and then ended today. So on behalf of our founder Jason, my colleague is actually in another meeting right now. I'd like to welcome our guests and panelists to again the test episode of Privacy Fridays and Fight Back Cybersecurity. So let's usher in the ladies first. No, Mamaya age before beauty. So now it's let's welcome first my colleague from NADPOP, Miss Arnie Barcelo. Okay.
Hi, magandang gabi. Yes.
Magandang gabi, Sis Arnie. Kumusta?
Yes.
Kwento mo naman.
Okay naman. Yeah.
Pakilala ka naman sa ating mga audience sa Bounce Back
Okay.
Network.
Yes. Magandang gabi, good evening, Diyos marahay na banggi sa ating mga ka-bounce back at ating mga ka-NADPOP at ang ating PH Search. Welcome to Privacy Fridays. Ako po si Arnie, ako po isang guro sa University of Santo Tomas. Kasama ko po si Sam sa NADPOP. At masaya ako na nandito ako kasama kayo. So, yeah, let's enjoy. Let's talk about privacy, about the PAO 2021 later, no? So, thank you Sam for this invite. Sasamahan ko po si Sam mag-moderate nitong session na to.
Thank you. Thank you, Arnie. Wag lang itong Friday, yung succeeding Fridays pa. Kasi
sure.
Privacy Fridays
Sure.
to, hindi Privacy Friday lang. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And next, siyempre, we'll start the ladies. Kay Attorney Dana Batnag from Bayad Center. Magandang gabi, Attorney Dana. Okay? So, welcome to Bounce Back Network. Yan. So,
Hi, good evening. I'm Dana Batnag. I work in Bayad Center. I'm part of the data privacy team. So, yon, kami yung nangungulit sa Bayad Center to help secure the data ng mga
yan. Salamat po, Salamat. Attorney, konting kwento naman about your yourself para first time mo sa Bounce Back Network. So,
So nasa Bayad ako bago lang ako sa Bayad actually. I'm there for just a year. Before that, for the longest time actually reporter ako. So kasama ako sa mga gumagawa ng data breach kasi we need to get information. But of course we don't get personal data. Just information.
Sige po. Siguro ikwento niyo, Attorney, kung saan kayo galing na later on sa media. Sanay pala kayo sa mga interviews. Tama-tama yan. Okay? And then another lady, again, so i-welcome din natin a fellow lawyer ni Attorney Dina, si Attorney Mara Villegas. Magandang gabi, Attorney Mara. Thank you for joining us. Galing ka lang sa isang meeting ngayon, alam ko. So buti nakahabol ka. Okay? Kumustahin mo naman ang ating mga audience sa Bounce Back Network. Okay?
Hi, good evening everyone. Sana nakanood kayo nung Privacy Awareness Week. If you have any questions na gusto nating i-discuss, parang kwentuhan lang at kapihan. Nauna na si Attorney Dana sa kanyang kape ngayong ga. So, gusto lang natin malaman ano pa yung mga updates, what we should be watching out for, especially as practitioners or even part of the corporation, no? So, hindi lang naman data privacy as an issue ng data privacy officer, kundi compliance or frontliners in general. So, hope you find this session interesting also.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Mara. So, yan, ang ating tatlong ladies. Huwag na kaya natin pakilala yung ibang mga guest natin kasi masaya na akong kasama ko kayong tatlo. Di ba ka magalit siya, no? Again, ang isang association partner natin dito is the Philippine Computer Emergency Response Team, or PH Cert. Hindi po sila nag-i-issue ng certificates, So, PH Cert po yan. So, unahin po natin yung batang-batang kasama ko dati sa Microsoft, Mr. Abet de la Cruz. Yeah, one of the directors of PH Cert. Abet, magandang gabi.
Ay,
yan.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Thank you, Sam, for inviting me. Of course, though, privacy is one aspect, but of course, there's also information security, which is in the overall scheme of things. Lahat naman ang pinoprotektahan natin, whether confidential information, sensitive information, personal information, all of those falls under the realm of information security. So we're here with my colleague from PH Cert to give that particular angle, of course, So, Sam, thanks again. Arnie, sorry, sabi ko na sasabihin ko Arnie. Arnie, Dana, and Marat. Nice to meet all of you.
Nawala si Mr. Lito Abaria eh. So hintayin natin bumalik. Saka
Okay.
si ang ating colleague din sa NADPAP, si Mr. Titus Manuel is trying to connect, mukhang Biyernes kasi ngayon, so marami nag-online. Ito na si Mr. Titus Manuel. Okay,
Maraming
we'll add him to
nanonood
the
ng
stream already.
Friends.
Naka-audio only pa lang si Titus Manuel. Pero okay, tingnan natin yung agenda, no? So let's look at the program that happened para din sa ating mga audience so they can see what happened the past 2 days. Yan, I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, sana makita nyo. So nagsimula po actually yung Privacy Awareness Week ng May 26 pa. Maganda na tinrain po ng National Privacy Commission ang ating mga government privacy professionals, so tinatawag na DPOAs or Awareness, Compliance, and Ethics. Ito po ang training program ng National Privacy Commission para sa mga data protection officers or mga privacy professionals. Tapos po kahapon, ito na, nagsimula na po yung conference. No? Ang opening remarks po ay din-deliver ni Deputy Commissioner John Henry Naga. And then followed by a keynote message from DICT Secretary Gringo Honasan. Pagkatapos po nun, si Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque delivered the message on behalf of the President. No? So talaga pong yung flow talaga napakaganda. And then si Chairman Liboro po actually nagbigay ng Commissioner's Report. Every year po, pang-apat po na Privacy Awareness Week na ito. At every year po, nagbibigay po ng, except for the first time po, siyempre yung Privacy Awareness Week 1, nagbibigay po ng report si Chairman Liboro. Okay, so yun po, pag-uusapan natin mamaya. Pagkatapos po noon, ito na po, nagkaroon po tayo ng mga additional keynotes, yung Upholding Data Privacy Rights in the Pandemic Response, a Whole Nation's Approach, o ito po maganda, diniscuss yung how the government is managing this pandemic. And then nando po si Dr. Eric Taig ng Department of Health, si Yusek Jonathan Malaya ng DILG. Diniscuss po yung Stay Safe contact tracing app. At ang paboritong mayor ng lahat, si Mayor Vico Soto. Kinuwento niya kung paano ang Pasig City Government ay pinoprotektahan ang privacy ng kanilang mga citizens sa pagkuha po ng datos para sa pandemya. Okay? And hindi pa po natapos yan. Napakahaba po actually ng morning session. Nag-extend siya hanggang hapon. And ang sumunod po doon, meron po yung PhilSys, yung Philippine ID System po. Diniscuss din ni Secretary, someone from NEDA, hindi po si Secretary Chua, but si Yusek Dennis Vilorente ng DICT, diniscuss po niya yung PhilSys, pati po si Jonathan Marskel ng World Bank. And then yung last session po sa umaga, ito napakaganda, Online Learning and Children's Privacy. Okay. So tanggalin ko po ulit itong Sean, pakitanggal po yung i-welcome natin again, nandiyan si Lito Abria. Okay, Lito, magandang gabi. Okay, so nasa US ka ba kaya ka naka-jacket? Yan. Say hi naman to our friends sa Bounce Back Network and sa NADPOP and of course we're being broadcasted live in 7 channels eh. Yeah, Lito? Nasa US si Lito, so medyo may konting delay dumadaan sa cable. No?
Magandang gabi, Sam.
Yan. Dito narinig ka na rin namin. Si Lito po siyang godfather of Philippine cybersecurity.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the show.
Yan. Salamat Lito.
So bad. It's
Sino ba provider mo dyan, Tolites?
Okay lang dito si Attorney Dana.
Call out natin.
Wag. Papadala ka ni Attorney Dana ng Red Di ba Attorney Dana yung sister company niyo, di ba na telco. Okay. Unahin natin yung mga ladies again. Who would like to start? Ano yung what do you think is the highlight of the morning session, and then what's the impact of your chosen highlight? Personally, ano yung personal choice niyo among all of those topics in the morning na napakadami talaga at napaka-rich ng topic natin. Okay? So
let me start, Sam. Kasi
sige.
Meron akong very striking statement ni Mon. So ulitin ko lang yung pagiging guru ko na nakita ko doon eh. Ayun, sabi niya, the last statement of Mon, sabi niya, let us not appear silly in our youth and grow old realizing everything was plain illusion. But let us age slowly with the knowledge that our commitment was right. and all is not lost. Yun. So yun sabi ko, ay yes. So hindi madali itong ginagawa nila, no? Pero actually, it's all worth it. Hindi lahat ma-embrace itong privacy culture. Pero at least we are doing something for 4 years na. So I think malayo-layo na tayo. So yun sabi ko nga for my students, no, it's like an inspiration to promote privacy sa classroom, sa practices, sa paggagawa ng projects. Kasi nga naman, it's all worth it. At it's everybody's right. No? Respect sa right ng isa at respeto din sa right mo. So yes, so for me, that's the highlight, yung statement ni Mon from the very start. So yan yung closing statement niya na nag-stuck sa akin at pwede kong ma-share sa mga students ko.
Ayan, thank you. Thank you, RD. No? Alam mo, naalala ko pa nung una mong na-meet si Chairman Liboro sa Privacy Awareness Week 1, di ba? Na-starstruck ka no? So,
sorry.
Binubo ko. Na-starstruck ko siya.
Okay naman kasi siya. So, as a leader, parang may yung charm niya nandoon. So, very, din naman siya sa mga guests or the DPOs there during the first POW. And, yeah, and alam ko kasi tumasan siya nung high school.
Okay.
Yes, kaya ganun. Kaya nilapitan.
Pontifical, university. Tama. So, you mentioned charm, no? Nalala ko yun. We were together during that POW 1, di ba? Magkasama tayo. So, yung charm ba ni chairman mo, nandun pa rin? From POW 1,
maputi na yung hair niya lahat. Lahat naman. Pero yun talaga. He made a very striking statement doon. So it's all worth it. Hindi madali. Pero he's doing his job.
Yeah. Good. Attorney Dina, ano nung tingin mo? So again, let's focus dun sa talk ni, sa report ni Chairman Mon.
Sabihin ko lang, doon din ako sa POW 1 and 2. Doon sa PICC. Kaya lang wala akong kilala nun so I just stayed in a corner. Yung kay Chairman Liboro, ang na-interested, what I wanted to follow up on was, yung sinabi niya na they're conducting a study on the contact tracing that's being done, how effective it is. Pero more than his statement, what struck me was the amount of data that's being gathered kasi dun sa Pasig Pass. So, sinama na nila yung doon sa QR code, right? Pinasok na nila doon yung ayuda, pinasok na nila yung vaccination, tapos yung contact tracing. And then dun sa ID naman, it is you. Parang ikaw na yun Tapos may biometric. So I was wondering how it will change yung some of the ways that we as lawyers can prove yung presence ng isang tao. Like, since, meron akong transaction for 2 days, tapos somebody accuses me of committing a crime a year later. So, pwede ko bang i-demand yun? Because may access right ako, di ba? So, I can demand dun sa Pasig ako. Pwede ko bang hingin yun? And then, at least, I can have a list ng, para maalala ko who I was with. So, parang, ang dami nito. We are being monitored more. But, ang flip side naman nun is we have mas mahirap na rin tayong i-accuse ng basta-basta. Diba? The tighter monitoring also allows us to prove where we were and who we were with. Yun. Doon ako parang very interesting yung fields kasi it's a platform. So, ang sinasabi niya, pwede siyang mag-integrate. I was wondering kung pwede siyang mag-integrate with all the fintech apps na nag-KYC. So, pwede ba gano'n na, hindi ka na tapos do you pay them? O hindi na kasi, syempre, di ba, yung mga fraud verification, na yan, software na yan, binabayaran yan, may mga licenses yan Then, pag PLCs na, do we pay government? O hindi. So, very interesting. Ang daming possibilities dun sa kukuning data at saka sa what we can do with the data.
Yeah. Thank you, Attorney Dana. Mukhang marami ka talaga nun. As I said, very rich talaga yung session sa umaga, From the keynote speeches, and the messages talaga, down to the last session on online education talaga. Napaka-rich. Thank you for that. Tony Mara, ikaw naman. So, ano yung Yung talagang naging highlight sa'yo sa umaga, yung day one.
You're on
Naka-mute ka,
mute.
Attorney Mar. Yeah, okay. You're on mute.
Yeah. So,
Yan.
yung sa akin highlight, we acknowledge that this is the 4th year already. I was there also on the first 2 in person. But now, before it's more of a, the first 2 sessions, it's really to introduce what is data privacy and encourage people to comply. But now, the market difference of this session is it highlights make data privacy a priority. That's their main theme this year. And it's aligned with the global celebration of Privacy Awareness Week. So it's not just about generating interest, it's about taking pride also of the continued efforts to protect your data. And to be fair, the campaign of the past years has been bearing fruit. People are asking now, even lay people are saying, what are my rights? Data privacy ba yun? Yung kahit yung simple na, I know in the ground there's a confusion between what is corporate data, what is cybersecurity incident. But the fact that we are talking about this and we're generating all this interest, and especially in the time that there's massive adoption of these online platforms, it allows people to say, hey, maybe it's not just about having the brand name before kasi yung mga tao, they're just looking at, this is a trusted brand, I will go for that. And businesses were also saying, no, people will go to me and then we focus on building a business, the income generation. Compliance was always seen as a cost center. So dito, when they say we have to uphold data privacy rights, it also puts the agenda front and center even for government. In fact, what's appreciated dito sa Me 26 is that hinighlight niya yung importance ng dialogue sa government sector. Na before, the focus of data privacy was really to remind the private sector not to violate individual rights. But here we can say, hey, government, we're looking at you. You have so many projects. You better disclose now what data are you using and how are you going to use that. And for me, it's very timely because we have this vaccination pass, we have this safe travel app, and now I usually do not disclose my cell phone number. I use Telegram and use usernames in exchange. But I'm getting random texts na magpabakuna, supported by Mayor Sara Duterte and President Rodrigo Duterte. So who's handling our data? It begs us to now question how tight are their privacy policies? Yan.
Yan, thank you. Thank you, Attorney Mara. No? So, again, napagandang insight na yun. No? And then, thank you for highlighting, tama ka, na importante yung dialogue, di ba? Especially for big government projects. No? So, nakita nga natin yun dun sa discussion sa PhilSys, di ba? Which is really going to be the mother of all databases in the Philippines. No? So, tama-tama. Balikan natin ng PhilSys mamaya kasi napaka-interesting ng topic na yan. Lahat tayo magiging part ng PhilSys. No? Okay, so, before we go to dito, Abet, from using your technical mind, no? So, ano yung mga nag-resonate sa'yo ng mga techie stuff doon sa morning ng day one? I'm sure ang dami doon, di ba? So,
Medyo. Pero let's start with the overall theme. You're right. It's a vast improvement from the previous ones. I was very excited because tama ka, no, every year, Chairman Mon, this is kind of like a sauna, every year. So you can see the progress that has happened with the last couple of years. What I'm glad is that besides the technical stuff, is that it's a good venue to hear, ano na yung mga progress, ano mga nagawa ng companies, ano nagawa ng government. They're also reporting in a way. So I'm glad we get to hear that, at the first instance, and at the same time, of course, put some thought into all those things they said. Of course, in our end, mostly the technical stuff. But if the first day, if you're gonna ask me, so of course, I'm going to answer yung feel sis and yung stay safe. Definitely, yun yung mga things that piqued my interest. And of course, In all honesty, it's the first time I heard Mayor Vico spoke. So, just been reading all about it. Pero I was surprised actually. Well, gladly and pleasantly surprised na the reason why he got it right because he had the back end started earlier. Kaya yung mga addition nung dumating yung COVID became a little bit easier. So let's just say he was thinking ahead even before that. Kaya, he gets my vote for that one. Although I'm not from Pasig, sorry. So yeah, yun.
Pwede ka lumipat. Pwede ka lumipat ng Pasig, Abet. So,
Pwede. Masarap ang pansit doon kay Ados.
tama. Okay, yung business mo yata nandiyan, no?
Nag-promote.
Sa Pasig, ano. Pero tama, nakalimutan ko. Hindi pa na natin na-share ko ng team. No? So ito pa, again, thank you for reminding me, Abet. Should have said that at the start. So the theme of the 4th National Data Privacy Conference is valuing privacy in the time of digital transformation, di ba? A transformation forced upon us by the pandemic. Yung kanyang sub-theme, ito, tatlo, di ba? Protecting Filipinos, number 1. No? Second, promoting economic recovery. And third, building trust. Okay? So, ito naman, sinabi naman to ni Chairman Mon sa kanyang, sa kanyang report, di ba? So, yung imperative that we protect Filipinos, physically and digitally. No? So, physically, we're protecting them from the pandemic, di ba? By giving vaccinations. Digitally, ito nga, yung the NPC ensuring that everybody knows about privacy rights, no? So, may isa akong report ay somewhere, so yung awareness ng Filipinos sa under protection for personal data is already 60%. This is based on the report I just presented this morning sa PNP about that. Maybe in succeeding sessions we can discuss that, yung awareness ng Filipinos talaga. So mataas na siya. Sabi nga ng iba, dapat daw after ng Privacy Awareness Week, Privacy Enforcement Week na eh. Di ba? So,
Yeah, after 5.
so PW na. So, anyway, again, so, yan, since you mentioned, meron po ba kayong na-highlight doon sa report ni Chairman Mon? Siguro, actually, masarap balikan niya kasi we're going to invite him here, no? And so that he can flesh it out. Siguro, 1 or 2 Fridays from now, we can invite Chairman Mon to be a guest here sa Privacy Fridays and FightBack Cybersecurity para mas lalo niya ma-explain yung kanyang keynote speech or yung kanyang report, no? Ako, interested ako sa mga metrics eh. For example, compared to PAO2, yung report niya, ilan yung mga circulars na na-issue nila, for example. Yung mga, yung something that we can touch on. May alam mo ba yung Atty. Mara? Are you familiar with that? Or Atty. Dana? Year-on-year comparison, for example, di ba? So, how many laws have been passed, how many complaints have been addressed, etc. Parang hindi ko kasi na-caption doon sa yeah.
Hindi ko na-capture kung ilan, but what we like about is that the National Privacy Commission is very responsive, no? When you ask them for request for comment, if you can see, they were able to compile volumes and they even distributed this for free nung first 2 sessions. So sadly, ngayon, wala tayong kopya. I hope they upload it na it's really good for practitioners kasi that, in fact, I could liken them to the BSP who actually encourages their practitioners and the regulatory field to look into their circulars on how the law is applied. Because, for example, our Data Privacy Act is very stringent, no? So, the interpretation should be strictly construed. Otherwise, you might be in trouble with the law, considering, for example, the recent case of Bautista for the Comedic breach. So, before we were really highlighting ano yung security incident sa data privacy breach. And here, when you have a very active commission writing their opinions, it delineates or it gives you guidance up to where should we impose this. In fact, in relation to that, there's a January 2021 decision by the Supreme Court. There is a data retention policy usually applied by companies, right? So when you ask back for your data, they would say, it's within 5 years, it's within 7 years or 10 years. But here in this Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court said, hey, the depositors have the right to know their data from the time it was opened. So it removes the limit of 5, 10, 17 years, 10 years. So it's really interesting how they carve out these metrics and their publications vis-a-vis the development of the data privacy law in the Philippines.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that, Attorney Mana. Attorney Dina, may dadagdag ka ba? Do you have anything to add to
Hindi ko nabibilang yung circulars, pero marami silang ini-issue tapos kai-issue lang nila nung data subject rights, which is very good kasi maganda siyang guidelines. Tapos ang pinakamaganda doon, may time frame. Companies have to address requests from data subjects within 30 working days. Pwede ma-extend ng another 15 working days, but you have to explain to the data subject. So sa amin, nilagay na namin sa guidelines namin yon para lahat ng data owners namin sa mga processes namin, alam namin na when a request is made, kailangan talaga mag-respond. Tapos, ang dami nilang advisory opinions. Like, they have several advisory opinions on contact tracing apps. They have advisory opinions ng safe, pwede ka bang mag-post ng picture sa social media, sa Facebook. Pwede ka bang mag-post ng picture ng anak mo sa school activities? Ganun. So actually, andun lahat. You just need to read it. Maganda yung huling decision na inisyo nila tungkol dun sa lending app. Na they found the board. It was the board that was negligent. Diba? So ang ganda-gandang basahin nun. Tapos maganda ring guidance for us na okay, ito yung elements, ito yung when the NPC looks at your records, this is what they're going to look at. So this is what we better do, diba? To make sure na hindi tayo magagaya dyan. Yun.
Actually, very good point yun, Dana, kasi remember when you're trying to get budgets when you operationalize your day-to-day business as usual problems with the company, your primary problem is to advance the budget for the compliance teams because you're always seen as a cost center. So now if you highlight that the failure of the compliance team is not actually just on the compliance team, but it is now based on the advisory opinion of the regulator, the liability of the board of directors, then it's their own skin. So they become more invested because before they're only invested in the income generating activities.
Yeah, actually nakakatakot yung decision na yun eh. Kasi even yung mga nominal board members, sinama sa gustong kasuhan ng NPC. Kasi ang sabi ng NPC, well, this is what the law says. You'll have to prove that you were not included in the day-to-day operations. Tapos ang isang maganda doon sa decision na yun was that, kasi usually, di ba, we don't expect the board to read the contracts. Pero ang sabi kasi, board ka, di ba? So dapat binasa mo at dapat you should have known that the contract that you signed is against the law. Tapos ano yung against the law dun sa provision na yun? That they allowed PIP to be in control ng processing. Parang that's not in the data privacy provision. That was parang mas nasa labor kasi means and methods of the work. Diba? So kung nasa data privacy team ka, tapos ang babasahin mo lang is just the data privacy provision, you could miss that you can miss that
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Ang ganda ng topic na yan, no? Especially yung sinabi ni Attorney Mara na right now, tama ka eh. Privacy and even cybersecurity are still considered as cost centers, ano? But, di ba, based on these developments, talagang CEOs, C-level suite should really pay attention in protecting privacy. Meron tayo dito comment from, magandang gabi, Attorney JP. Si Attorney JP po, isa sa mga ating instructor sa NADPAP Academy. So, ipopost ko lang po yung comment ni Attorney JP dito. So, we're starting to see published decisions from the NPC, which sets precedents for DPOs to be guided more on policy making. And it gives insights on how the commission decides certain cases based on relevant circumstances. Si Attorney JP po used to be Chief of Staff ng National Privacy Commission kay Attorney Ivy Patdu. Magandang gabi, Attorney JP. Salamat at kasama ka namin yun. Hopefully, siguro, next Privacy Friday, kasama ka na dito. So, you'll be one of our moderators or guests. So, kasi nga si Attorney JP is now with Security Bank. So, siyang Deputy DPO. So, katulad ni Attorney Mara, pareho sila nasa bangko. So, tama-tama yan. Maganda siguro magsama kayo ulit para we can talk about fintech issues sa privacy. Okay. So, tanongin natin ulit, si Lito sa si Titus Manuel is having a hard time connecting. Baka kaya ng audio only. So, okay, mukhang puntahan nga natin yung PhilSys. Sige. So, doon tayo, Abet, di ba? I saw you making a lot of comments doon sa YouTube. Ano? So, again, we cannot ignore it. It's going to be yeah, you did. I was monitoring the chat. Pakita kita, okay? Even our kids are going to be part of PhilSys, di ba?
Yep.
So,
Well,
lahat yun talaga, mother of all databases. Okay, what do you see? Ano yung, the way it was tackled by the speakers, yan si Dennis Pilorente of the ICT, for example. Abet, sige.
Well, you see, if we're talking about like mother of all databases, maybe not. The government is pretty siloed. No? A classic example is SBIR. Matagal nang gustong dapat pagsamahin yung data nun, pero hindi nangyayari. So what the national ID system or the PhilSys system would provide would be at least a common, a common denominator between all of those databases. No? And you're right that technically it is the mother of all databases because everything can infer to that particular number. Sorry, pumasok sa isip ko programming key to reference everybody. My brain is working overtime because of all the comments from Dana and Baron. There's a lot of good issues that are warranted to discuss. But going back to PhilSys, finally we saw the under the hood, no? The technical workings details of PhilSys. Kasi we've attended the public hearings before, and there were only two, right? The last one was held in UP, and in fact, several groups, concerned citizens, groups petitioned to have more, but it never materialized. So, kind of like, okay, what's happening now? Are they still getting input? So, after that point, it's like, we don't know. Everything's blank. So, hearing today's presentation, okay. So, ganun pala yung ginawa nila. There are very good strides actually. It's also modeled after several existing national ID systems, open source siya. So those things, no. From a technical perspective, it kind of conjures a lot of more questions than answers. But of course, it's what we have. And like they said, this is going to be a baseline, no? A baseline national ID system, and I do expect further developments. I'm sure you saw the questions I posed. The DICT kasi has what they call the the national PKI system. PKI is public key infrastructure. So since time immemorial, we've been preaching this. So it's the public key, private key encryption, so to speak. So I won't delve into detail. We've mentioned that a lot in the E-commerce Act, in the Supreme Court, and a lot of other publications, di ba, Sir Lito, if you're listening. That is the technology that provides yung hinihingi ni Dana, no? Tsaka ni Mara, the thing we call non-repudiation. So you can tie up a digital certificate with the digital signature or the private key of an individual to the person. Yun yung object ng PKI. So what brings to my mind is that, okay, there's a national PKI system, there's a national ID. Ilang kebot ba kailangan para magdagdag ng chip and ilagay yung yung digital ID, di ba? Parang so in my opinion, I'm sure logistics is a nightmare, so I won't delve into that. So yun lang, yung mga things that like that just comes into mind and evokes some questions. May sumagot naman, I can't remember who answered. Sabi niya, definitely the ICT will be there will be more collaboration and close working relationship with the ICT and PhilSys. So yeah, finally today we've heard what's under the hood, and hopefully they'll be open to more public consultations.
Thank you, Abet. Okay, we'll laymanize that, one of these days, di ba? So that's the laymanized term talaga. Essentially,
sa FightBack Security, matuturo natin.
Yes.
Simple lang, ang goal lang yan talaga is that each Filipino will have a unique digital identification. Okay, yun. Si
Meron
Leaders
na ba
tayo
kayo?
na,
May ID na ba kayo? May ID
wala
na
pa
kayo?
po, Arnie.
Ayan. Ako,
Pakinggan lang,
muntik na.
Apply na po ako
Okay.
online pero wala pong registration sa lugar ko eh. Kaya
Okay,
wait.
sa amin, meron dito, sa barangay. So, you just need to go to the barangay and then pipicture lang ka. Kailangan medyo, syempre, decent. And then, kailangan, may yung photo mo valid and then hindi expired. Yung passport ko expired. And then,
Kala ko expired na photo eh.
and then, merong representative ang PSA for that. Tapos, may procedure din naman po sila. So the bottom line here is we need the national ID. Sana maging successful ang pag-execute niya. Anyway, let's see. Let's hear it from Titus. Is Titus there?
Yes. Titus, go ahead.
Yeah, puntahan ko na yung national ID system. I maybe parang self-serving to, no? But it could have been better kung they've gotten parang an NGO like a NADPOP to help them go to the privacy program. Because ultimately, these things actually becomes a perception. The more NGOs you are able to put into the program, the better ang acceptance sa public. It doesn't really matter how much you do it. Maski na anong gawin mo dyan, for as long as merong kulang na tao, parang kulang sa rekado yun eh. Sa totoo lang eh. It may taste good for other parties, but the taste actually is added more pag meron kang pangdagdag like NatFab. This is an association but you're going to be judged by your own peers. That's the national DPO eh. We can get good people coming from our organization and they can work on that program and then they can validate and then they can say this will work, guys. We've gone through it, we examined it, we went to the rudiments of the game and this works. Walang ganun eh. So yun ang akin sa tingin ko, yun ang missing component dun. Again, that's self-serving kasi nagpapa ko eh. But in reality, we're expecting someone, baka gusto nyo man tumulong. We never heard the statement. We try to put ourselves there. Hindi tayo napansin.
Correct.
Parang super sensitive na ako eh, no? But that, pero bayan to eh.
Tama yan.
Tao yan eh, di ba? Tao yan ang natin eh. One mistake is all it takes. Dati kasi kailangan ka maraming nakawan na ID para makuha mo yan eh. Yung mga information coming from other parties. Ngayon, isa na lang. You could imagine the impact of that one. So importante again, one more time, we didn't validate. No one validate from the private sector, except yung that's my.
I guess what Titus is trying to say is kulang sa transparency. Narinig lang natin.
Correct.
Yes, nag-penetration testing kami. Yes, nag-code review kami. Pero okay, agree. What, diba?
Yes. The test of the pudding is in the eating. Let the guys who actually are involved in the privacy get involved. Because they know the rules of the game better eh. They know kung pwedeng madali yan eh. You can put Abed then, you can put Lito Averia doon. You can put everybody there and they will become your testament. What more? Kung meron kang testament, the public will buy it. Unfortunately, they missed the boat. Parang ginawa nila, nakalimutan lang yung steel bars. Anong gagawin mo doon? Gigibain mo ngayon.
Alam nyo, para yung software development project eh. Kasi sasabihin ng management, eto deadline mo, kailangan up yan. So, ang nasa isip lang nila is tong date na to kailangan ma-up. Security and privacy is an afterthought. Yun ang nangyari. So, okay, nakakadalawang public consultation tayo. Tama na yan kasi may deadline tayo eh. Lalo tayo madidelay. Lalong dadami mga inputs, baka it's a case of too many cooks spoil the broth siguro. Pressure din sila, of course, we understand that. But if it's something as big as a national ID system, and I'm sorry to say this, like, pasensya na po, nagka-technical problem sa first day ng registration. So, isipin ko, na-overwhelm yung server. So, isipin ko, wait, this is a nationwide program. Yes. Alam nyong milyon-milyon ang pupunta sa araw na to. There are existing tools and strategies and software and services, the word they get, na pwede mong ma-anticipate yung laki eh. Kasi ngayon, if it's in cloud, automatically it can expand, automatically it can decrease. So naisip ko, hindi nyo ba naisip yun? I mean, you're talking about the entire country. Parang nag-editorial tayo, sorry po.
Yes.
Titos kasi.
Agree. Tama. Kulang.
This conversation because that's the intent. That is the missing ingredient. You could imagine if the guys like Abbott and the guy like Lito swearing that you can bank on it. Pwede mo isulat ang pangalan ng anak mo dyan. Because these guys are true to form. No, yun lang po din yun eh.
Parang
iba na lang po, maraming mas magaling sa amin.
Humble talaga ni Abe to.
parang 3 years lang yan, di ba? PIA.
Tama. Baka wala pa hingin natin kung public document yung kanilang di ba? Yung kanilang 5 pillars, di ba? Hingin natin 5 pillars of policies. Pero Tito si Attorney Mara na notice niya. Correct. Yung message naman doon ng government dito sa PAO na to is that they're willing to dialogue. No? So baka yun nga ang kailangan mangyari. And sinabi mo yan, sulatan natin si Yusek Villarente ng Monday. So, Yusek
si
Dennis.
Oo.
Direct line naman tayo
di
ba?
Nakilala. Oo, si Dennis pala yun.
Akala ko nasa PSA na siya kasi he was speaking on behalf of the Philippines
PSA.
Statistical Authority. Pero thank you for that, Titus. Lito, can you try an audio? I'd like to hear your voice about this kasi again, you've been at the forefront of several government projects, di ba? So, and this one, again, the mother of all databases project of the Philippines. So, Lito, let's hear it from you.
Hindi, tingnan natin kung anong mangyayari. Ipitahan si Dennis nga dito sa Privacy at Fridays.
Oo, sige. Ayan. We're going to invite si Yusek Dennis Villarente. Sino pa gusto yung imbitahin natin? Para mapag-usapan ng Philippines at Lent.
Dito sagot ni Lito.
Imbitahan din si Malaya tungkol doon sa stay safe.
Pwede.
Ang question ko dyan is stay safe. Diba? It started when they announced it back in April 2020. Tinignan ko yung site na stay safe. Pati browsing data kinokolekta. Pati yung device type kinokolekta. Anong relasyon nun sa contact tracing?
Nung sinabi ni Mayor Vico na i-integrate niya sa Stay Safe yung application niya, parang sabihin, wag na lang.
si Mayor Vico, imbitahin din natin dito. Pero tama yun, sige. Yung succeeding episodes ng Privacy Friday sa FightBack Cybersecurity, let's invite also the creator of Stay Safe and at the same time yung DILG kasi from IATF sa kanila na napunta di ba? Actually, IATF/DICT. Yun ang first landing ng Stay Safe, no? And then from there, a few months ago, in-announced ng DILG that they're now the owners or in privacy terms, the PIC, of Stay Safe. So maganda makadialogue na natin si DILG.
Ang problema sa may capacity. Ang problema, may capacity ba si DILG?
To manage the application, no? Well, maganda actually yung strategy kay DILG kasi lahat ng local governments talaga. That's how you will scale it, di ba? From the national to the local or hyper-local in this case sa mga barangays, no? So that's the ideal scenario for a contact tracing application talaga. Nandun sa ground siya. Wala siya sa national level. So they have the organization for it dito. But ano yung gusto mong hingin sa kanila? Siyempre, kung may app ka, kailangan mo i-train yung mga users ng app, di ba? That's one. So you need a nationwide training program for Stay Safe. For all of the users, down to the purok level, no? Which is actually much lower than the barangay level. That's one. Secondly, siyempre, yung technical, obviously, dapat talaga technically sound yan. Kasi that's another, that's the daughter of all databases naman, di ba? Kasi, and sensitive personal information ang i-carry na Stay Safe, definitely. So, kailangan talagang protektahan yung data nun. Unang tanong ko lang dyan, na nag-PIA na ba kayo? Yan. Or nasa privacy management program na ba to? Yan, ganun siguro. Using our privacy terms, di ba? So, again, I'd like to hear from the lawyers naman. Again, anong tingin niyo po? So, we've heard from the tech people. Saka yung business people na like ayan si Tito. So ano pong tingin ng mga abogado dito sa sa Stay Safe? Yan. Nag-jump tayo from PhilSys to Stay Safe eh. So
Actually, sir, kung babalik tayo dun sa PhilSys lang, no? We want to highlight what type of information will you be asked to provide. So, for example, it requires your full name, sex, birthday, date of birth, blood type, your address, your full set of fingerprints, front-facing photograph, and iris scan. So basically, your entire uh, personhood is reduced to data. So now that you have the questions from our experts, how well are they going to protect our data? And mind you, the biometric data is something that you cannot change. So when you're subject of identity theft or if there's subject of a breach, this information will be forever out there. So, no unang nagkaroon ng national ID system, they brought it to the courts and the Supreme Court did not rule on the constitutionality. But it made a statement, are we really ready? Because we know that there is a primordial public interest for the national ID system. But how sure are we that we have the infrastructure to protect it when we don't even have a national broadband? Our government offices are using private networks, which we consider as a security issue or a security risk. Secondly, once their data is out there in the dark web, for example, what will be the implication legally of someone who's trying to do an account takeover or who's going to impersonate you? Because right now, if you have data, if you were victim of phishing and your data is used to access your accounts or bank accounts, the liability, the lost monies, is the obligation of the account holder. May nagsabi ba attorney? Sorry. So, mabalik lang ako. When your data now, like what happened with Comelec, there's 50 million Filipinos affected. What if it happens to PhilSys? And you have data that cannot be changed, forever traceable to you. And this was supposed to be unique to you. And they start impersonating you. Is this now still a liability of the person? Can you now say, my data was part of the breach of year 2020-25. Therefore, I should not be held liable for account takeovers. And paano na siya? In the US, for example, when they had this SSN number, so we're trying to copy the system and we have this PSN number. Any person can use it to open a bank account with the SSN.
Yeah.
You can get your insurance, it's like a one-stop shop. But here, if you have PSN and it's subject to hacking, what happens now to our integrity of the legal system? Can I now say 4 years later that my data is still out there, so it's still not me? Will the different companies honor that?
Excellent point. Excellent point. Actually, that's a very, very good point. Even in digital signatures, no, merong tinatawag na revocation process. No matter how infallible or how secure you say something is, it might not be the pin itself or the technology itself, but there's a lot of other things in between that can be exploited. Yun ang maganda sa hacking, either sa tao or there's a bug in the telecommunications protocol or whatever, OS, makukuha, no? Not necessarily the thing itself, but we must also have a backup plan, no, na just in case. Kasi nakasulat yung number mo doon sa card mo, di ba? Maliit nga lang daw. Pero just in case ma-compromise yun, what are the revocation, reissuance processes behind it? Yan siguro.
Yeah, thank you.
Sana
Ahmed,
gusto natin,
go ahead, Titus, go ahead.
Sige, yun sana gusto natin makita eh. What if? Kasi marami yung what if na yun eh. What can happen?
Yeah.
All it takes is just one mistake. Imagine mo, 50,000 pa lang yung inabot niya, naghang. Sana kung naghang yan na 15 million, pwede pa. Pero sa kung yung 50 mil naghang ka, ibang usapan yan. So the reality is basically maraming kulang. Well, I'm glad it happened now. It might be a blessing in disguise. Kasi at least everybody awakened to the reality, maraming pagkukulang ito. And I like to be able to go back to what the lawyers are you telling us at even si Abed. What if, kung nangyayari yan, ano yung gagawin mo dapat? Kasi laging nasa PIA yan eh. Meron kayong mga control scam, meron nakita mo yung risk, meron kang controls. What if? Hindi natin alam yun eh. Is that a state secret? Is that something that we are not should we not be able to consult them, give them an advice also, knowing the industry for that matter? Hindi naman tayo biyayabang, but our experience actually helps a lot eh. Please, attorney, please. Go ahead, please.
Actually, you have right to know that. Kasi once they share data, before they share data, they're supposed to have DSAs. So, stay safe. Should have DSAs with all of those 1,640 something LGUs nila.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yung data subject has the right to demand for a copy of to ask for a copy of the DSA. Yung DSA, dapat, ang sabi namin palagi sa office, yung data privacy team, is that we settle all of the obligations. That's why ang ginagawa namin, we trace the data from collection to deletion. Tapos naglilinaw na kami sa partner. Itong data na ito, pag nawala ito at this point sa iyo yan ha, kasi hindi ko hawak yan. Para when there's a breach, you just look at the DSA, tapos yun na lang yung ipipresent nyo sa court kung kailangan yung korte. So yung mga fears, dapat sa DSA yun, and as data subjects, we should have a right to see that.
Correct.
And yung PIA as stakeholders, dapat may right din tayo, stakeholder. That's our data.
Yep, precisely. Sige, so susulatan di ba natin si Stay Safe? Marami na tayong susulatan Tito sa. May comment dito si Lito Abria. Minimum security solutions to protect personal information. Number 1, identity and access management to limit access only to those who need to access the data at the time data is needed. Number 2, protection against data lost. And number 3, protection of data at rest using encryption. Number 4, protection of data in transit. Use virtual private networks. Yan po ang sinabi ng ating kaibigan si Lito Abria. Oo.
In a nutshell po, ang sabi ni kapatid ni Lito is actually mga basic requirements to, no? Highlighted by encryption. Kasi tayo nakikita natin application di ba? If we pull back the curtains, lalo na sa software development, sa ganitong kabasive na undertaking, dapat po merong secure development life cycle. So, ano bang process ang ginamit, di ba? Are they thinking about security and privacy while coding or pagkatapos na?
Yes.
So dapat may code analysis, static code analysis, dynamic code analysis. Marami po kasing behind the curtains na syempre hindi naman kailangan malaman ng general public, but of course for those who wants to know the nitty-gritty or para makatulong na rin, talaga namang ganun, para makatulong kung ano yung mga ginawa nilang proseso.
Okay. Salamat.
Building trust actually. Building trust
Correct.
yun. Maidagdag ko lang kasi nakaka-relate ako sa discussion nito. Kasi I was busy the whole week coaching or for the capstone, for the projects ng mga students ko. Ang isang magandang development sa classroom level, sa academe, ay we are adopting the privacy by design and in all our projects. Sa totoo lang, hindi siya madali, pero exciting siya. And for one, na dahil ako'y taga-NADPOP, natutuwa ako sa move ng academe na nandun na siya. No? Hindi, before wala yan. Sa mga nagagawa ng projects, ng software development, wala yan before. Pero ngayon, kami, very, very keen kami on the framework na ginagamit namin. So, ini-imagine ko lang, kung ganito kami ka-strict on what framework to use at paano namin siya i-execute. The service management plan, the implementation plan, nandun lagi yung security management, yung information security management. How much more na dapat ito na mai-apply ng mga professional on this big project. Yes, so I think ang kailangan natin gawin maybe we will have a special session talaga para balikan kung paano nga talaga nila to ginawa. No? So, in the presentation, they have the principle or the privacy by design that they follow also. But it is parang report na nga talaga yung binigay nila. Pero on inclusion, na-involve tayo na parang may council ba sila na ginawa for that? I am not aware of kung may council for that. Na para at least na dagdag sa twist ng project na yan. And yes, so ako personally, bilang teacher, I was busy the whole day, pero replay ko yung session, and then with this session also mas naintindihan ko yung PLCs, no, yung ID system natin. And I just hope na mag-review. I think kailangan yon on how I don't know if it is too late already. Pero sana seryosohin natin yung framework. Actually, that will save us, I guess, in using a specific framework and then getting seriously with the information security. Kasi ang services at security, laging magkasama yan. So, yeah. That's it for me, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I'd like to segue now, no? Yung isa pang topic in the morning na very, very important, yung online learning and children's privacy.
Yeah,
Talagang,
that's that.
natuwa ako dun sa again, si Yusek Omari ng DepEd nandun, di ba? Tapos si Danny Cheng, kaibigan natin from De La Salle, no? Siyang DPO ng De La Salle. At the same time, ito, yung si Ramiel from UNICEF Philippines, nakita ko talaga yung kanilang concern to protect the privacy of children, ano? Kasi si UNICEF marami tinutulungan ng mga bata eh. Again, this is another area that emerged, from the pandemic, di ba? Nagkaroon ng work from home at the same time online learning. This morning magkasama kami ni Arnie, we were talking to our friends from the PNP, and then it's imperative for us now to secure our respective homes, di ba? Kasi dito na tayo nagtatrabaho sa mga bahay natin. Dito na rin nag-aaral ang mga anak natin, no? And then compared to an office environment where you have firewalls, you have VPNs, etc. Sa bahay wala naman tayo nun eh. Di ba?
Totoo.
Sa bahay nga yung password ng mga router natin, generic password eh. Right? So, yan pag-usapan na natin yan. So, yung how do you now secure Filipino homes, no? Number one, protecting Filipinos, promoting economic recovery and building trust. Yun isa sa mga projects ng NADPAP na gusto namin gawin. Tulungan ang mga Pilipino na i-secure ang kanilang mga digital homes. Yan, who'd like to take it on? Sinong gustong magbigay ng kanilang input?
Siguro, mauna na ako, Sam, para i-isiyan ko lang yung context.
Sige, Tito.
I've always talked about this one lengthily. No? Our homes were not designed for privacy. They were not designed for working conditions like in the office. Naririnig mo ay pinagkwentuhan ng kapitbahay mo eh. Naririnig ka rin eh. Pag inuwi mo yung computer sa bahay mo, ang tingin ng mga anak mo nun, pag-aari din nila yun eh. So a lot of rules that are applicable for an office environment does not work at home. Don't expect that to run in the work home environment. Something must change. And if we're going to adopt the existing ones, it will not work. Nabigla lang kasi tayo eh. Like yung opisina namin na pinanggalingan kong building, nag-lockdown yun kasi merong COVID-19 na na-discover yun. Yung mga tao na ang kanilang data nasa loob ng building, nagsara yung opisina nila. Hindi nila makita because they're not allowed to get inside eh. Buti na lang kami, nasa cloud kami. Going back to the situation when we disperse everyone to work, we realize this is not work, this is home. We just pretend to work. The idea that we have to change the way we change the parameters, environment, the rules. We have to adapt the situation to the reality. And we have to manage expectations of everyone. Sige, Sam.
Yeah, thank you, Tito. So, si Tito, one time pagka, ng isang webinar namin, di ba, sa PCS, no? So, naririnig yung kapitbahay mo, di ba? So, nag-aaway mo sila.
Oo, narinig ako. Paligay ko, nakaka-leading seminar sila sa akin everyday eh. Kaya araw-araw narinig nila sa akin. Tatahimik kapitbahay ko, magtuturo na ako noon. Anyway, that's life in our work environment.
So yun po, again, this is another topic na gusto nating balikan, yung digital home and securing it, di ba? So meron pong process naman talaga on how
Day
to
1
secure
pa lang
it.
tayo, Sam. Day 1 pa lang to, di ba?
Ang dami na.
Salamat, Ate.
Oo. Kaya
Sabi
private
niya,
object.
test broadcast
again,
lang.
Test broadcast. Again, kumusta sa mga colleagues namin sa NADPAP? We announced this during our last meeting. Ito na po siya. This is a test broadcast. Send us a message kung gusto nyo maging guest dito if you want to share input. But ideally, it's a Friday. Maganda may kasama kang beer or wine or whatever. Di ba nakasama to? So yun, online learning
Kala
and
ko sa
children's
maganda may
privacy.
kasama ka eh. Wala ka kasama.
Kasama kita, Abet, di ba? So, kaya ganyan.
I think
Alam mo,
it's a good venue kasi
mm-mm.
we just put it out there. Tapos as you can see, there's a lot of topics that we need to focus on, and it could be the topics of succeeding, broadcast of Privacy Fridays and FightBack.
Correct.
Yes,
Nasa
yes.
AM
Yeah.
day 1 pa lang tayo. So,
Oo nga.
hindi natin matatapos yung buong agenda.
Mahaba to. Kwento ko lang sa experience ko for almost 2 years na online learning. Support kasi ng teacher. Alam mo, ang focus niya talaga, mag-deliver. Yung magturo. And then, of course, nasa pagde-design nyo nung course mo. Paano mo siya dadagdagan paano mo siya papasukan ng privacy, no? And it should be part talaga ng planning, ng decision making. So hindi dapat talaga siya mawala. So pero alam niyo ba sir, realistically sometimes sa amin, ako sa college kasi, sa basic ed, required silang mag-open ng cam. Required sila mag-open ng cam, nakakatuwa sila at lagi silang present. No, siguro part of the training. Pero sa college, alam mo, hindi sila required mag-open ng cam. So minsan, nung una, hindi ako open doon. Hindi ako comfortable. Na wala, parang photo avatar lang nakikita ko, yung gano'n lang sila. So, nagre-react ako dyan, parang bakit ina-allow natin yan? Because of data privacy. Sabi ko, hindi ba pwedeng i-waive yan ngayon? So, ako ako, nag-request ako na, pwede bang i-open yung cam? Kasi yung learning, hindi ko nakikita yung reaction nila at parang, I don't know, gusto ko pa rin silang ma-meet. Kasi nga, parang kumusta sila while learning, just to monitor na rin their situation. Pero it's part of data privacy. Okay, I'll respect it. Pero sabi ko, paano na yung clause doon, yung free flow of information for research? Parang ganun. Anyway, pero in the long run, naintindihan ko na rin. Kasi nga parang iba't iba yung situation nila sa house. And ano pa ba? So sometimes, nakikinig naman sila pero yung siguro yung physical nila and then yung background nila sa bahay and I don't know, they are protected by data privacy doon sa opening the cam. Pero sabi ko okay lang yan, sige, if I can let go of that. Pero siguro it's really on the sincerity on how you design your course. It's not really whether it's open cam or not. Doon na lang yan as teacher. Yun. Ayun, so sana mapaliwan, nyo rin yun, i-justify natin nga naman. Pero ako tanggap ko na okay lang kasi nasa design niya ng course mo at nasa impact ng ginagawa mo. And at the end of the day, natutunga ba talaga sila? Whether on-cam or off-cam.
Nakaka-relate ako kay RD. Nagturo din po tayo sa college before. Hindi mo maalis eh. Malaking bagay kasi yung expression na nakikita mo di ba? If it's blacked out, avatar lang, wala kang indicators to tell you na inaantok ba sila, tulog ba sila, naintindihan ba nila?
Nakikinig ba sila?
Nakikinig ba sila? May iba bang ginagawa? I mean, for the teachers, just to give you an assurance na, okay, some acknowledgement, in fact, na naintindihan nila, or at least, you see the facial expressions para makapag-adjust ka di ba? Kasi sa class, pag nakita mo, nakakunot noo lahat, that means medyo malabo.
Explain
baka
mo,
kailangan ko ulitin. Correct. So, I totally can relate to that.
Pero ginagamit nila yung data privacy doon.
Okay lang. Ako naman, I understand it from the academic perspective, but the problem is that when we shifted to online learning, a lot of schools are not capable of protecting your data in such a way that healthcare services, financial services are buffered. Yung collection of data kasi by schools is massive to the extent na it's comparable to a life insurance company. it actually tracks your day-to-day performance from grades. Di ba, like for example, some schools have the Moodle system, like the learning modules, and then the grades are there. So teachers are being trained to use technology. Sometimes they are not so trained, and then they have to do parang one by one emails. For bullying also, because the reason, di ba, we go back to the proponents of that's why we have uniforms to make things equal. Tapos ngayon, you can see their houses and you can see their different social status. Then you have Zoom bombing before, because it's good that Zoom already changed their protocols, but a lot of other free apps that are used by smaller schools, they don't have this. In fact, as long as you know the password, sometimes it doesn't even change. You can get in. So these thieves, they steal addresses, phone numbers, social security numbers, kasi lahat siya nandun sa model. And there are different entry points also, since considering that the children are susceptible to being recorded for the learning session. So, possible na nako-collect din yun, lalo na kung kunyari all-girls school. So, possible na nako-collect din yung data ng mga bata. Yun lang yung sa akin. I understand the lack of interaction and we are all susceptible to Zoom fatigue. But it also presents parang everyone was forced to transition and do business as usual. But I've never heard of any college or university actually providing, hey, this is an introduction to how we are migrating to new technologies and how do we safeguard ourselves for these new technologies. Like, sana tinuruan mo na kaming lahat na how to change your Zoom background. Basics, di ba? Before we start. There wasn't even that.
Yeah. Pero kasi depende din kasi yan talaga sa readiness ng university. So, siguro sa amin kasi matagal na kaming nasa ganyang setup, online learning. Kaya walang gaanong yung culture shock. So, we've been since matagal na, mga more than 20 years now, 15 years basta. Anyway, I agree with Mara, with Attorney Mara. I think nagkagulatan kasi. So what we are now addressing lang is talagang the resiliency na both on the teacher and the student. So yung mga yan, honestly, hindi yan gaanong napagbigyan. So naaral before. Pero in between, ginagawa po namin yung campaign on how to do privacy by design in the way you deliver your lesson. So, ano na lang siya, maraming mga policies na lumalabas habang we are on the enriched virtual mode. Adaptive naman ang tao by nature, so laging may lumalabas naman ng mga programs for that. So, I just hope that with NADPOP, so you can extend your help, yung ano po ninyo sa mga ganyan, mga ganong advices. Kasi swerte yung mga universities na nandyan na. Pero ang dami pang laki ng Pilipinas eh. So mas marami nangangailangan ng advices natin.
Yeah, thank you, Arnie. No? So, may isa tayong comment from Jerby dito. So, again, I love the comment. Yan, a good way to end the week. Yan, lumalabas na ba?
Yes.
Yan, so tama, no? So, kaya nga itong purpose talaga ng Privacy Fridays, we will recap, what happened within the week. Talaga. Okay, so we're almost done, 10 minutes down. So hanggang 7:30 tayo tonight eh. So it's a 1.5 hour show. Nasa morning session pa lang tayo. I'd like to touch sana on the yung afternoon eh, napansin namin kasi because di ba natapos yung morning session ng 1:30 PM, di ba, ng day 1.
Yeah.
And then dumiretso na siya sa breakout sessions. So ang ganda ng mga topics doon. Tito, sa kapasok ko ba doon sa work from home? Yung use of AI.
Struggling,
diba,
second somewhere in the middle. Inabot ko pa.
Pwede natin i-park yun.
Pero ayaw ko tanggapin eh. I don't know why. So, Well,
alam nila kasi
that's
yung sasabihin mo. So, we can invite sila Attorney Princess Ascalon ng IBM, no? To, we can invite them to, again, I'm sure nabitin din sila sa oras nila kasi nga talagang nag-extend yung morning session. And then yung isang topic talaga, yung I attended that yung I see you, facial recognition naman for online transaction. Doon sa ating kaibigan, si Tasa Montes, no? Ng Union Bank, Elito Billionaire Fintech Alliance, etc. And then Nika Hosaka ng Grab. Maganda rin topic yan, using facial recognition for online transactions. Nasa fintech si Attorney Mara, so definitely importante yan. Of course, yung SHREMS 2 in a nutshell. Ito naman yung cross-border, di ba? Issues sa data. Ang ganda ng mga topics, no? Pwede natin itong balikan in succeeding episodes. And yun nga, one of the last one, yung regulatory unboxing. Okay? And then, yung pinaka-popular na session kay Depcom Dino, di ba? Yung Circular on Administrative Fines Online Public Hearing. I-park natin yun, huwag natin pag-usapan yan ngayon. Di ba? Kasi mahaba-habang discussion yun. Oo. Kasi, di ba?
Iniintay ng mga insurance companies yan eh. Kasi sabi nila, sagot nila yung, di ba, yung administrative fines. Wala pa kang definition kung magkaning administrative fines. Kaya inaabang-abangan yan eh.
Oh, definitely. And yung feeling nga ng karamihan, including myself, no? Parang ni-rush yung session na yun eh, di ba? I mean, tatapos bigla, bilis. So, dapat hindi ganyan, di ba? Something as important as this. Something that can bring a company down. Imagine mo, 5% ng gross revenue mo. Di ba? Tinalo pa yung rate ng GDPR eh. So,
4%.
Oo. Meron pang 4% na. I mean, alami talagang fines na nilabas. Di ba?
Mas malaki pa sa criminal fines yun ah.
Saka dapat kung kukopya na lang sila, kinopya din nila yung categories. Kasi even the GDPR, they highlighted a differentiation from SMEs, from micro, so hindi yung blanket na 6% on gross. Because not everyone is a multinational company na may paghuhugutan.
Correct.
And you're announcing this in the middle of pandemic, really?
Yan. Oh, yun ang impact.
It should be proportionate for to the capacity to pay.
Yes, sir. Actually, kasi when we were, I was in a non-life insurance sector before. We were looking at cybersecurity insurance. So you see the design that we adopted from London and Singapore is that may limits yung mga laws nila na kung if you're not making this yearly profit or if you depende sa jurisdiction, no, how many employees you have versus how many customers you have. So yung ibang jurisdiction, they saying na your size is based on the number of employees you have. So yung penalty is also calibrated for that versus yung reach. Yung sa atin is indiscriminate. And yung nakita ko notable dito, sir, kasi originally, May 14, they already requested initial comments, not just from data privacy practitioners, but also compliance officer groups. So they submitted comments to this, especially highlighting the penalties, which was not in the data privacy law. So this is more of the spring higher than the source type of thing. And nagtataka ako nung pinesend siya sa PAO, bakit parang hindi yun na take up? Parang yung dating version pa din.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, Atty. Tapos tinahin naman ni Atty. ni Depcom Dino sa di ba? There's now bill both sa lower house amending the DPA, no. So tingnan natin yung Again, we won't delve into that kasi napaka-bigat ng topic na yan. We'll share that for another day. We're almost done. Okay, so closing statements from everyone again about PAO 2021. Okay, so unahin natin ang ating mga senior advisors. Titus, ano gusto mong sabihin sa Okay.
Meron siya si Commissioner Liboro. Chairman Liboro, I like the way he handled things today and yesterday. Mas relax siya, mas feeling comfortable siya. So that means over time he has been able to be able to manage a lot of things right now. Alam ko marami siyang problema eh. That is a reality in life. So congratulations, Chairman Liboro, you made it today and yesterday. Congratulations, guys.
Yan, thank you, Titus. Dito, ikaw naman. Nahihirapan talaga
message
kung
yata
si ano.
si...
May message Lito. So, okay. On behalf of Lito, we'll see him. Yan.
May message po si Lito. Ang sabi niya, yung
Oo.
mga telco providers daw dagdagan yung port sa area niya kasi ubos na daw. Matagal na daw siya nakapila. Kaya, yeah.
Yan,
Yun
sabi
pong
niya,
message
even my
niya.
nephew is working from home, was complaining all day about the slow internet. I-guess natin dito yung DPOs ng mga telcos, di ba? Lalo na yung bagong telco natin, yung data telecoms, no? So, para makita natin naman kung anong kanilang diskarte sa data privacy. Thank you, Lito, again for joining us tonight. Oh. Okay, so, Abet, ikaw, nagre-reverse tayo ngayon eh. So, final words from you.
Age muna before beauty.
Beauty ka.
Okay. Firstly, malaking tulong yung data privacy sa information security as a whole. Kasi dati mahirap kumuha ng budget for information security. Pero kung tutusin, if you look at the overall scheme of things, konting kembot na lang yung data privacy, sakop mo na lang information security.
Yes.
In fact, mas highlighted pa nga yung data privacy, di ba? Pero look at the tools and controls that you use. It's exactly what you would do for any type of data that you want to protect.
Correct.
So kaya malaki ang thank you sa sa Data Privacy Act dahil indirectly information security rin yan. If you remember, there was a case na hindi naman data leak, di ba? Dito sa bank. Pero sabi ni Chairman Liboro, because it constitutes CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, which are the tenets of information security, kailangan tignan rin namin. So dun sa situation, okay, so they're really perfectly aligned. And with that, and lastly, dun sa comment ni Titus kanina, what if, may kasabihan po kami sa information security circle. It's not what if. It's when and how severe.
Agree.
Yun po talaga yung katotohanan ng buhay sa digital life. No? Hindi yung mahak ba ko o hindi. Yes, mahak ka definitely. Ang tanong lang kailan tsaka gaano katindi yung epekto sa'yo. So yun po. Let me end with that.
Thanks, Abet.
Thank you, Abet. Great analogy, no? Para pag nagpabakuna ka, di ba, when and how severe din. No? So, okay. So, Attorney Mara. Okay. Then we go to Attorney Dana. Then, yeah.
First and foremost, thank you for holding this session. Second, we note that putting privacy front and center actually protects you and upholds our human rights, because the technological advancement actually puts everyone or transforms everyone into data. So it's not something that we should take lightly, or we should say na, oh, I'm going to just stay offline and my data will be protected. It's an active discourse and something that we should watch out for, because at the end of the day, parang yan yung mga rights on disability. Everyone will become data. So, it's constant vigilance talaga. Fight back cybersecurity.
Yan. Yan na.
Max.
Fight back talaga. Tama yan. Kaya magkasama itong dalawang shows na to Attorney Mara, di ba?
Laging.
Yes.
Magpa-fight back na tayo. Okay, Attorney Dana naman, ikaw. So, Attorney Dana, again, thank you nga pala, Attorney Dana, to Meralco for having me yesterday. No? So, ayun, na-miss ko yung keynote din ni Chairman Liboro kasi, again, salamat kay RCE at sa Data Privacy Office, ng Meralco Group. Salamat po for inviting me to be there. Okay? Attorney Dana, thank you po. Your last words po.
Thank you, Dad, for inviting me here. Na-miss ko rin nga yung morning session. Binalikan ko na lang later. Ang takeaway ko actually dun sa privacy, dun sa pause is yung session ang important, no matter how beautiful it is, where it's going to now. So we need to make sure na we can comply with the law. And then yung kagaya ng sinabi ni Attorney Mara, we're going to a stage, to a world now where all data. So it's very important for all of us to know our rights. Kasi wala kang magagawa, data will be collected about you. But ang kapalit kasi noon, 'di ba? When people collect your data, then they have the responsibility. They have an obligation to you. They have a responsibility under the law to protect your data, and they have an obligation to you to explain to you what they're doing with that data and to give you a copy of that data when you need that data. So earlier, parang papunta na tayo sa more surveillance, but will also help us place ourselves when we need to explain where we were, then we can get it from all these companies that are collecting data on us. So it's very important that people know yung access right, yung data sa nila. That's against those who collect your data.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you, Attorney Dana. No? Hindi na puputol. Again,
Thank you.
Mga telco friends, kailangan na ng better connection sa area ni Attorney Dana. Okay? Salamat po again. Oh, okay, Sis Arnie, your turn. Okay, thank you for moderating me. No?
Yes. I don't know if I'm a good moderator, Sam. Pero yes, may isa akong talk na nagustuhan din, The Myth of Privacy Paradox. And then sabi ni Joel doon, sabi niya, it's like, we say that we value privacy, but we behave distortedly towards privacy. So, yes, no, halos, hindi pa man lahat, pero yeah, we are beginning to speak na, yeah, I value privacy, I know data privacy, pero unconsciously we behave differently. So, I guess, and then ang solution nga daw doon, it's the respect. If you cannot practice, or if you don't really appreciate privacy, you respect na lang the right of others to practice or to protect his right on privacy. So that's the bottom line of that. And I think, ang tingin ko din dyan, kasi the hardest doon sa theme ni PAO 2021 is yung recovering and building trust. Yung pinakamahirap doon, yung building trust. Pero I guess it can be solved by a framework. You consistently following the framework and you sincerely na you include everybody. Yung nasa design mo talaga yun. Magically, something will happen if we have one framework for that, I guess. Kasi natutuwa ako sa if we follow one framework na pinopromote ng gobyerno, na laging kasama doon si information security. We cannot avoid it na. Nandiyan na talaga yan. Yeah. Sabi nga, FightBack Cybersecurity. Abangan natin yan.
Actually, hands down, yun yung pinakamagandang presentation, yung the paradox part. Ang ganda
naman. Mag-iisip ka talaga doon.
Tropical yan. Yes.
Yeah. Hingin natin yung contact person ng speakers sa Privacy Paradox. No? Okay. So, okay.
Sayang, hindi pa up yung reply niya eh.
Wala pa siya.
Thank you, Arnie. Thank you.
Wala pa. Ito, so yun, ano yung salita doon? Si George, Professor Daniel Solove.
Yeah, Daniel Solove. Yeah.
Okay. Again, once again, let me thank everyone. Salamat sa, this cuts into your dinner or magdi-dinner pa lang kayo. But thank you for joining us in this test broadcast. Di pa to yung episode 1 of Privacy Fridays and FightBack Cybersecurity. Talagang test broadcast to. May mga technical glitches talaga tayo. Again, thank you too for our audience from Bounceback Network and of course, NADPOP DPO Central and NADPOP. Salamat for tuning in and then putting your comments. Maraming manonood sa replay. So again, most of our shows sa replays talaga pinapanood. Hopefully, you'll catch us again next Friday. Wala pa yung guest, in-invite pa lang. But then again, sa akin talaga, ako, hands off, ang ganda ng PAO na to. Compared to last year, di ba? Last year talaga nag-adjust pa lang sila. But, Chairman Liboro and his team was able to put together a powerhouse, cast of speakers na international. Tingnan yung just the last day, di ba? And then privacy commissioners from different countries sharing to us their best practices. What more can you ask for? Sana madala natin sila din dito sa ating webcast. Again, on behalf of my colleague Jason De La Rosa and our co-founders of Bounceback Network, and of course my colleagues at NADPOP, Titus Arnie, and our friends at PH Cert dito and Abet. And of course, our two lady lawyers, maraming salamat. Special request kayo. Thank you dito for inviting si Attorney Dina and Mara. Magandang gabi at mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Okay? Data privacy and then fight back cybersecurity. Okay? Thank you.
Hinihintay ko kung ano yung ganun mo eh.
Ay, ang ganda.
Ganun lang. Ano ba?
Hindi, nakatagilid eh.
Kaliwa. Oo.
Hindi niya alam.
Akala ko
kung
susuntok
paano.
ka eh.
Scholar ng bayan eh. Di ba?
Okay.
Okay. See you
Good night,
next
guys.
week. Okay, bye.
Guys, ingat. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Dami mo ng topic. Nilista mo na lahat.
Ayan.
Hindi pa tayo nag-broadcast. Ayaw mag-play ng video eh. Dali ah.
Mm-mm.